The Street Fighter series by Capcom is responsible for the birth of one of the most long-standing genres of video games in history, the fighting game. Known for their exceptionally high execution requirements with motions like this, and whatever the hell this is, and guys like this, and this, that's a lot of guys. The fighting game genre has long since lost its broad appeal that it gained in the arcade era of the 80s with hits like Street Fighter II. Capcom, on the brink of gutting the Street Fighter series with their failure of Street Fighter III Third Strike, even though it's a really good game and it's awesome and I love it, released Street Fighter IV with their first online playable mode. Online brought in a lot of new players to the series, so many so that the community that formed from them referred to themselves as the 09ers. Street Fighter IV would get 4 more releases, which practically counted as balance changes, including a 3DS release. I don't know why. The game was good overall, but people were starting to get tired of it. With the release of PlayStation 4 in late 2013, Capcom knew what they had to do. They got their online hardcore audience with Street Fighter IV, but they needed to widen their net with their next release. Finally, after 7 years with Street Fighter IV, Capcom released the worst game ever made, Street Fighter V. It was so bad on release that it isn't even worth talking about, so I'm not going to. It literally only had arcade mode and online, and that was it. Anyway, after another 7 years and a lot of management shifts at Street Fighter, Capcom decided to stop messing around and finally release a good game. The release of Street Fighter VI in the summer of 2023 made it clear to everyone that this Street Fighter was going to be different. I mean, look at it. Compared to 5, it feels more vibrant, the UI and menus are popping out at you with life, while Street Fighter V is just that. Street Fighter VI did sell much better as well, with the sales reaching 4 million units worldwide in just over a year, for good reason. The game is very fun. An online battle hub where you can battle players online and flaunt your goofy custom characters, and even fight with them. And finally, a new mode called World Tour. World Tour replaces the usual story mode you'll see in any fighting game where you fight a guy, watch a cutscene, fight a guy, watch a cutscene. I know, very riveting. People in and out of the fighting game community have long since complained about the accessibility of the genre. How the games are too hard and too difficult to get into without a guiding hand or dedicated website. And this mode developed by Capcom is their answer to people's cries. World Tour is a semi-open world roguelike RPG with story elements to help push the player into basically completing a really long tutorial. One of the things meant to encourage players to keep playing the mode is meeting all the characters in the Street Fighter universe with your goofy custom character and learning their moves. You can then use these moves to fight other players and their custom characters in the battle lounge mentioned earlier. Throughout the player's adventure, they come across a wide variety of enemies that use many different techniques to try to basically cheese the player out of a win. And if you've ever played an online fighting game, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The mode serves to teach players by brute force how to deal with a lot of the usual tactics new players will encounter when entering the multiplayer aspect of fighting games. So basically, World Tour mode is training mode for people who don't have a little worm in their head telling them to grind combos for hours and hours alone in training mode. For this next part of the video, I want to go over one specific clip of someone fighting a refrigerator to demonstrate why this mode is both beneficial to the player base and not that beneficial. For those unacquainted with Street Fighter, it's pretty simple. You move on a 2D plane and you have punch and kick buttons to attack your opponent. You can block by holding away from your opponent, and you can jump back, forward, or up, but you can't block in the air. Knowing all of this, just the basics, let's watch this clip in full and try to identify what this player is doing wrong. As you can see, we have no idea. Now, I know because I've spent probably a year in total game time with games like these, but Most people will not know why this man got himself folded like laundry. If it wasn't obvious, which it isn't at all, when the refrigerator door is closed, it's about to spring open and hit you, meaning you have to hold the control stick away to block it. When the fridge is sucking in air, it's trying to grab you, so you must hold up in any direction because you can't be grabbed while trying to be jumped. I don't know why that's like that, just trust me. And the thing is that nowhere in the entire mode will any NPC tell you how to beat these refrigerators. And I assume most people never did because only 8% of the players who bought the game completed World Tour mode according to Steam. The small number of people who did make it past the fridge most likely never learned these small aspects of the game that are necessary to beat throw spammers in an online match. And as a result, to this day, people still call Street Fighter 6 too hard to get into, too hard to play. However, I posit this question. Is any competitive game easy to get into? Valorant, Overwatch, League of Legends, all these games are extremely difficult at the top level, but you don't see people complaining about the difficulty in them, especially with games as complex as the MOBA genre. And there's no tutorial on earth that will ever prepare you for the knowledge of micro terms and interaction that those games require. So what makes them different from Street Fighter 6? Why is the general player base so scared of the new experience with these ones? To put it simply, in Street Fighter, and in games like it, you have no one to blame but yourself.
Oh shit, Crush. I'ma block this whack-ass mix-up.
Aside from 1v1 tabletop games and sports, fighting games are kind of the only games on the market that are brutal in that way. It's super easy to get an inflated rank in team games and cheese your way through single player with walkthroughs and other stuff, but fighting games are different. They show you the hard truth of your efforts, and for a majority of people, that's more than they're willing to bargain for. And unfortunately, no amount of modes developed by Capcom is going to change this fact. But what often gets left behind in this discussion of fighting game difficulty is the sheer amount of fun these games are. I can boot up these games right now and practice combos for hours with a big old smile on my face. And nothing in gaming will compare to the feeling of losing to a teabagging guy in round 1 and making the comeback to win the set. It's like generational. The actual feedback of improvement you feel when you get better in a fighting game isn't a big level up sound or a cool new item to beat up all the bad guys. It's the small, almost unnoticeable change you can consciously make in your gameplay to overcome an obstacle you never will have before. And to me, that's reason enough.
He parries and he gets the front. He dashes in. Oh, the overhead reset. He just combo. No! Left and rip. The level 1 cleans it up, and he stays alive in the losers bracket 3-2, taking out Kakadu from the brink of defeat back to back.